I wanted to put together a video on SB 452 this week. It passed through the Assembly Appropriations Committee. And I'm going to use their analysis as an outline for my comments. Number one, first thing on the list is it extends the plastic market development payments to the plastics industry. Market development payments are something that once you put them in, no one is ever going to want to give them up. So it's not an effective use of money, in my opinion. If California has made this state too uncompetitive with its regulation, everybody needs to adapt to that and figure it out. Paying off, taking public money and paying it back to businesses which should be learning how to compete on their own is not a wise move, use of the money. It exempts dealers from the dealer requirement of taking things in the store if their recycling center went out of business between January through May of 2016. I have to believe that that ties in with most of the rePlanet closures, and so this is a gift for rePlanet. It allows for a recycling center to address the dealer needs even if it's outside the zone, if the department determines within a reasonable distance of the zone. So that's another thing. It increases the exemption significantly from 35 to 50%. Also, it makes an allotment for pilot programs. Those have been done before. I don't think it's a wise use of money. One of the key things it does is it says that they're going to use historical costs for the calculation of the processing payment. Now, the processing payment is something that every participant gets, recyclers, curbsides, everybody. And it's to help cover the cost of recycling that material type. So it applies to glass, it applies to plastic, it doesn't apply to aluminum. And the key is I said, we're going to go back and use this historic cost from 2015, but the processing payments in 2015 were a lot lower. So my question is, by using this cost, are we going to actually reduce the processing payments to all the recyclers? We have to understand, we don't know who wrote this language. We don't know how well they understood what they were doing. We just know that mistakes have been made in the past. It's called unintended consequences, and I think this is a big one. In fact, the whole trash industry might have signed down for lower payments. Do they know? Don't know. What else? It moves money around, a little here, a little there. It allows for the hiring of 3 new people at $323,000 per year. It's going to take a historic rate, using another historic figure, historic rate for handling fees, and those handling fees will then increase by about 20% when this bill takes effect. So the handling fee people did get an increase. There's also the potential for double handling fees in areas designated as rural areas. If you work out the numbers, it would allow them to claim up to about $6,000 per month on a subsidy and stay within the tolerances of getting the double payment. So they could come close to $12,000 a month in subsidy payments, which would be exorbitant. Waste of money. Drain on the fund. That's one of the things we need to focus on. It's also limited to $3 million, but if you had 100 recyclers hit that limit, it'd be at least a $6 million bill, so they'd run out of money. Not well thought out, certainly not mathematicians. Finally, it instructs CalRecycle to look at this whole funding of convenience and grocery stores and whatnot, and come up with a recommendation by 2021. And they don't do that well. And I would be concerned that it would be a well thought out and comprehensive plan to deal with what the public really needs. I'm always reminded of what Judge Diane Border said on one case that she worked on in CalRecycle, and she said, the public's interests were not served. We need to focus on getting our interests served, and we need to get focused on having this department do it. Three things it doesn't do. This bill doesn't. Number one, it doesn't end the perpetual use of emergency regulations by the department. That's a travesty. That's got to end. Not in this bill. Number two, it doesn't prohibit anybody receiving handling fees from paying only CRV. I'm hearing right now, rePlanet's out in Inland Empire with places paying $1.90. That means that they're giving away about all of their processing or their handling fees on those materials, on that material type. And the only reason they do that is to damage the competition. So people who aren't getting subsidized are being hurt by this. Go back and look at my videos on that. They're covered thoroughly. And I would throw something else in. I think anybody with a foot in the program, it might be okay for them to be a processor. But if you're running more than, let's say, 25 recycling centers, I think there should be a prohibition on allowing an organization like that to certify as a processor. There's too much cheating and deception that could be accomplished in that scenario. So no processors if you got too many sites. Those are three things that should be in that bill. And I thank you for your time, and stay tuned. We'll have more.